Evening. Are we ready? Yes, we're on. All right. Well, good evening and welcome to the November 24th, 2025 City Council meeting. I am calling the session to order. We always begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening, the pledge is going to be led by Pankaj Varma. He is associated with an effort called Siwa Diwali food donation, and just recently, a number of our temples worked together to provide food for over 800 families and over 1,700 pounds of food that was donated to CARES, along with a check for $12.50. And so, Pankaj, if you would please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We're good. Thank you, Pankaj. We're good. So, yep. So just a little bit, as we know, food insecurity is a big issue, and as we think of the holidays, this is an increasingly important time. And so I just wanted to highlight that we do have so many groups within the community that are neighbors helping neighbors. And so the work that is being done at a number of our Dharmic temples in this instance and so many other places through our houses of worship and beyond, that this is really super work that's being done. So thank you and the team at Siwa Diwali. And with that, we go to roll call, please.
Council members Aldred.
Here.
Bullaware. Here. Bridges.
Here.
Dwyer.
Here.
Knoll.
Here.
Starkman.
Here.
Mayor Rich.
Here.
Thank you.
Next item is number 2, proclamation recognizing November. Oh, sorry. Approval of the regular session agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, move the council approve the agenda as published, okay?
Thank you. We have motion and support. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Carries. Oh, my. Number 2, proclamation recognizing November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday, and it will be read by Dr. Starkman.
Whereas the city of Farmington Hills celebrates local small businesses and recognizes that they create jobs, boost the economy, and help to preserve the character of the community. And whereas the city of Farmington Hills is home to more than 5,000 businesses that are owned and operated by hardworking people of all kinds. Of each dollar spent at local businesses, 68 cents stays local and recirculates to other area businesses. And whereas Michigan has more than 900,000 small businesses that amount to more than 98% of Michigan businesses. Small businesses employ nearly 2 million Michiganders, representing approximately half of Michigan's total workforce. And whereas consumers who shop on Small Business Saturday are making a conscious commitment to support small, independently owned businesses and to make purchases with a positive impact. And whereas Small Business Saturday is an important part of small businesses' busiest season, during which consumers are encouraged to shop or eat at independently owned businesses and purchase gift cards from local businesses. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Teresa Rich, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday in Farmington Hills, and urge the community to support small businesses annually on the Saturday after Thanksgiving and throughout the year. And I have the proclamation for Harut from Kevin's Jewelers.
I want to thank you, everyone, for this. It's a great honor. I'm a 4th-generation jeweler. I opened up Kevin's Jewelers about a year ago. My dad started in 1988 in Roseville, Michigan, and this is our 2nd location. We specialize in custom jewelry as well as repairs. And one of the biggest things that we have been standing out amongst our competition from our customers, we hear that it's the people. It is our employees. It is how we treat them. It is how they feel like family. It's not a pushy environment. It's a very relaxed environment. they feel like they're family whenever they come in. Some people come in just for a cup of coffee or just to say hi, get their jewelry cleaned, and it makes us happy. We do it for that reason. We do it for the relationships that we build, and it is a great honor to be able to hear all the fantastic stories from our customers. And I've enjoyed being in Farmington Hills for the past year, and it's been nothing but great feedback. And I just want to thank everyone for this award. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for choosing to make your business, small businesses home on Orchard Lake Road. So anybody looking to shop on Small Business Saturday, they're there. Okay, this then takes us to announcements, presentations from city boards, commissions, and public officials. And I think we have Mike Sweeney from the Emergency Preparedness Commission. Good evening, Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council, city staff. First of all, congratulations to surviving the election cycle and all the fun and games that is involved in that. Congratulations, and we look forward to working with you in the next 2 years. The commission would like, normally we talk about preparedness topics, and this is sort of a preparedness topic. I've asked some literature be distributed to you. This is paper copies of supplies you should have in your home for the coming winter season. The last 4 months, we've given over 1,000 pieces of the published literature. Now, we also have a QR code, so you can scan this, but I didn't want to lose you all into your phone, so I'm going to show you the QR code, and then I'm going to put it back down. And what we wanted to talk about originally was making sure your homes are filled with food and supplies, batteries, make sure just make sure your house is ready. But we thought instead we'd talk about taking a mental health moment. The elections are done. They won't be back for another 2 years. We don't need to be having those intense conversations. Perhaps we can go back and actually like our family and friends again. And what I'd like to do instead is something that my father used to do. He would come over to my house with this little tiny green toolbox. And at the time, I'm a husband, father of 3, working a full-time job, trying to get done all the things that need to get done, and some things fell through the cracks. My dad would show up, and he would go around with his screwdriver, and he would tighten all the little screws, and he'd replace all of the batteries, the clocks, the smoke detectors. I didn't know, but he was replacing the filters in my furnace so that my furnace would run more efficiently. He went and checked the pilot light and the hot water heater. He even went and checked the sump pump. Now, that wasn't something I was worried about during the winter time, but he says, come the springtime, if that sump pump's not working, you will know about it when your basement floods. And so what we would like to suggest is, as you're going and having a meal with your family and friends, if you're fortunate enough to be in their homes, if you're a guest in their home, show them the courtesy, show them the respect, show them the kindness of helping them with all of these different things that just need to be done. My son comes over to my house with a ladder now and replaces the lights on the top of the house because I'm not allowed to have a ladder in my house. He also makes sure that the gutters are clean because I'm not allowed to have a ladder outside of my house either. So just as a kindness and an introduction to the winter season, to get our houses ready to be locked up and stay off the roads, say thank you. Bring the little green toolbox. And if they don't want you to have a little green toolbox, leave the little green toolbox for them to do it. But these are household things that right now, while the weather's still warm and you can pop open the windows, you don't think about it. But you know, in January, when it's 3 degrees outside and that outside light bulb dies on you, what a kindness would have been if that light bulb had been replaced at Thanksgiving. EPC tip of the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, that then takes us to correspondence. Anybody on council of correspondence that want to share? Mr. Aldred.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to report, and other council members may have received similar emails. I received emails several emails over the last few weeks from Mr. and Mrs. Weiss with regards to the noise from their property that backs onto 8 Mile from the adjoining business there. I passed those emails on to the city manager's office, and I have heard back from the planning and community development department that they are following up. They are still working with the owner and the property. So that is still in, obviously, we've heard from them here at the council. Just wanted to report that that is ongoing, and I'm going to be looking forward to hearing how that progresses in terms of bringing that to a successful resolution. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Then that takes us to consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the items may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. They will be read by our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Dwyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Number 6, recommended approval of award of bid for sign shop supplies to MD Solutions, Inc., in the amount not to exceed the annual budgeted amount with the approval extension CMR 11-25-171. Number 7, recommend approval of the Fats, Oil, and Greases Prevention Program, ENET, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $75,000 for the current year, with the approval extensions in the amount not to exceed the annual budget amount, CMR 11-25-172. Number 8, recommend approval of purchase of ice arena replacement scoreboards to Nefco Sports LLC in the amount of $31,182.36, CMR 11-25-173. Number 9, recommend approval of purchase of Bobcat zero-turn riding mower with accessories to Doson's Bobcat North America in the amount of $17,536.66, CMR 11-25-174. Number 10, recommend approval of City Council study session minutes of approval of November 10th, 2025. Number 11, recommend approval of City Council regular session minutes of November 10th, 2025. And that concludes the consent agenda items.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Yes.
I move that the council approve items, consent agenda items 6 through 9 as read by Mayor Pro Tem Dwyer.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion and support. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bolaware? Yes. Bridges?
Yes.
Dwyer?
Yes.
Knoll? Yes. Starkman?
Yes.
Aldred?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes. And we have another motion, please. Ms. Knoll.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve items 10 and 11 on the November 24th agenda as read by the Mayor Pro Tem.
We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
We have motion and support. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bridges?
Yes.
Dwyer?
Yes.
Knoll?
Yes.
Starkman?
Abstain?
Aldred?
Yes.
Bolaware?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that then takes us to council member comments and announcements. Who has some things they would like to share?
Comment.
Okay, Ms. Bolaware, please.
Yes. Last week, I had an opportunity to spend a few days in Salt Lake City at the National League of Cities City Summit. Now, the National League of Cities is an organization that represents over 3,000 cities, towns, and villages across the nation. And they are our advocate at the federal level on things that we need or we want to see the federal government perform. They're also, in addition to being an advocate, they're also an educational opportunity to educate municipal officials across the country. And at the conference, there were 3 subject matters that they thought were of importance to bring to all of these 4,000 members who attended the conference, last week. One of the things that they discussed that was very important was housing. They mentioned that every city across the nation is experiencing a housing crisis at some level. And it's not always about affordability, it's just a lot of mid-income individuals and young people can't afford to own a home. The second thing they spoke a lot about was artificial intelligence and how it could help cities. For example, we can use artificial intelligence to change traffic patterns through traffic lights. We could use artificial intelligence to respond to freedom of information requests. We can use artificial intelligence to help us with our budgetary process. We could use artificial intelligence to respond to our residents' complaints. As you know, here in Farmington Hills, we have 57 languages or more spoken here. Some individuals are very fluent in English and some are not. But with artificial intelligence, you can respond to that person in the language of choice for that particular person. We can also use artificial intelligence to help our public safety analyze crime and crime patterns. There's just so many opportunities, not only within our departments, such as human resources or administration to onboard employees, but the important part that you have the right security around your artificial intelligence. It's such an exciting arena that's being ushered into our society. There's a lot of, cons as well that we have to study, but as we go into our budget, or not budget, but our goal-setting session in January of 2026, I hope to be able to bring some of these topics to council that we can explore them and see if there's an opportunity here in our city for any of these AI vehicles. But the most important thing that they discussed, and that every city across the country is experiencing, is the lack of civility. It's rampant in our society, and somehow we have lost our humanity. There was a lot of things they had to say about incivility that I'm not going to go in tonight, but at our next city council session on December 14th, I will discuss some of the items they mentioned about incivility, how it's impacting council members, how it's impacting our constituents who come before us, and the things that we can do to mitigate some of that and perhaps hopefully get us back to the point where we're looking out for our neighbors, we're loving our neighbors as ourselves, because every Christian or every religious organization or tenet, they have the same premise that we are supposed to love one another. So I'll have more to say about that on December 14th, which is our next city council meeting. But I wanted to bring those items before you, just to share with you some of the things that happened at the conference last week.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor? I'd like
Yes,
to-
please.
I just wanted to briefly introduce myself. I'm Charlie Starkman, and I wanted to just express my gratitude to the residents of Farmington Hills for placing their support and faith in me as a first-time candidate. It was a very inspiring experience to run for office, and I am very, very grateful to be here. My goal is to be as transparent and open as possible with everybody, and I am available, via email, just if you need anything. But I also wanted to congratulate Mayor Rich, Councilman Bridges, and Councilwoman Knoll on their reelection, and to thank the city staff for being so supportive as I've been through onboarding. And yes, it's been really wonderful. So I hope to make you proud as your councilman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bridges?
Yes, I also wanted to thank the voters of Farmington Hills for reelecting me to a fifth term to city council. I take this responsibility quite seriously. I recognize my role on council is to represent you when we have decisions come before council, and I'll do my best over the next 4 years to do just that. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your support of me in my reelection, and I look forward to another 4 years on city council to make sure Farmington Hills remain a great city for us all, that we remain fiscally responsible, AAA bond rating, we maintain our safe city designation, that we continue to have a high quality of life in our city. So thank you for that, and my comments.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Knoll?
Sure. I'd also like to thank the voters for putting their faith and trust in me and re-electing me to my fourth term. And I will promise I will continue to work hard as I believe I've done in the past, and continue to, some of my goals is to just maintain the safety, to continue to keep this city safe, to continue to support redevelopment of our commercial areas, and when redevelopment is in residential areas, make sure it's compatible. I'll continue to fight for that, as well as continuing to deliver efficient services to the residents so that we can continue to have a responsible budget and keep taxes down, so that we can really ensure that we have a high quality of life for the residents of Farmington that work and live here in this community. So thank you once again.
Well, I have a couple items then.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I have my welcome and congratulations to the mayor and other council members on your re-election. I would like, secondly, I'd like to point out just how amazingly successful our summer camp program has been again this year. Special Services have put on. We had nearly 5,000 camp participants in 192 separate camps, which is more camps than Novi, West Bloomfield, Northfield, and Southfield combined put on. It's amazing what we've done as a city. Not only is it well appreciated, by our families and even our attendees here this evening, it's actually revenue generating for the city as well. So it's absolutely fantastic job. Not only does Special Services do a great job, but I believe our HR department does a fantastic job as well. We're all the onboarding of, I think, 80 camp staff. So I just want to add my thanks and congratulations to Special Services for that. And lastly, in the area of just being outside, special in green spaces, something I hadn't realized, but we're increasing our working relationship with Oakland County Parks. Glen Oaks Golf Course is closed for golf, but it's open for walking during the winter, and it's even open for people walking dogs on a leash. So if you're looking for a space to be outside in the winter, Glen Oaks Golf Course is something that you can take part in. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. I had a few items to share. First is it's nice to have our new council up here ready to go, and looking forward to our goal-setting session in January. So start feeding your items to the city manager, please. Councilmember Bolaware was a little humble just now. I was also at National League of Cities this last week. It was very powerful for all of the reasons she mentioned, but what she omitted was that she was re-elected to the National Black Caucus Leo Board as a member at large, and she was also elected to the Women in Municipal Government Board as a member at large. And congratulations, Councilmember Bolaware. As long as we're doing a little bit of congratulations to Mercy High School. Their LP Girls Swim and Dive team are the D2 champions for the state of Michigan. And, and at basketball, won a championship as well this last week. So congratulations to Mercy. A couple items coming up. The Mayor's Feeding Farmington Hills Task Force has now had 2 meetings and has decided it is going to continue to meet on a monthly basis. It will be on the second Monday of the month at 2 p.m., so the next one will be December 8th. It will be held at the Narden Park Methodist Church, which is also known as the Fame Church, in the chapel. The people who are participating are members of the nonprofit community, faith community, government, education, and interested citizens at large, working on where are resources, as well as groups that want to volunteer and provide services. And so if you are looking for a way to volunteer this holiday season, there's a website called justserve.org. If you type in where you're looking, your zip code, and what day and time you have available, you'll be able to see volunteer opportunities. as well as be able to post your own. Resources are being posted on the city website under fhgov.com/help, as well as on the library website. And then finally, Walk the Hawk is back. It will be the second Tuesday of the month, 7 p.m. at the Hawk on the third floor for at least the winter time. And so unlike public comment, where all you're able to do is have your 3 minutes to talk and not engage, this is an opportunity for you to actually have conversation with me and whatever council members come. And so it's more of a robust coffee hour kind of thing. But if we can, we at least walk the third floor of the Hawk and get a couple steps in. So other than that, happy Thanksgiving, and we are back on our agenda with item 3 of, we're on new, oh, sorry, city manager update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council. So just wanted to remind everybody that the last week for yard waste pickup is the week of December 8th through December 12th. So on your regularly scheduled day of that week, that's the last opportunity for yard waste pickup. Good news, Halstead Road from 8 to 9 Mile is open. Yes, thank the Lord. Also wanted to remind the community that our 33rd annual holiday light celebration here at City Hall is, I can't even read my own writing, is on December 2nd at 6:30 p.m. So that's next Tuesday. And I too wanted to say happy Thanksgiving and have everybody be safe and don't eat too much. Thank you.
All righty, that then takes us to item 3. We're in new business. Consideration of appeal of a Freedom of Information Act request dated September 27, 2025. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you very much. This is an appeal of a Freedom of Information Act denial. The requester was denied a copy of the tentative collective bargaining agreement while it was under negotiations still. He has appealed that decision, even though he ultimately did receive a copy of that tentative agreement once the negotiations were over. He appealed it also, he appealed it on grounds that he believed that the basis for the denial was improper. It was denied on the basis of attorney-client work product because the negotiations were still underway. We believe that there were other bases under Section 13(1)D and M of the Freedom of Information Act, which talk about not disclosing that documentation under subsection D and under subsection M when you're having frank communications before a final document is completed. As we do with any appeal that we get, when our office receives it, we engage in some communication with the requester to get a better understanding of why they would like to appeal and if there's anything we can do to work the matter out. In this instance, the records were already supplied to the requester, yet he indicated he wanted to continue with the appeal. So the discussions continued for quite some time between Mr. Young and my office and the requester to try and work through his issues with this matter. And I have late breaking news. All the way up into this evening, Mr. Young was speaking with the requester and exchanging emails after it looked as though he wouldn't agree to resolve it. He did end up agreeing to resolve it. I don't believe Mr. Steen is present this evening. Is he present this evening? Yeah, I don't think he showed up because he intends to resolve this matter. It is a tentative resolution that has not been reduced to a single writing. It's emails back and forth. We would like to put that together in a single writing with him to make sure we have a clear understanding. So what we're asking at this time is to not hold the hearing on the appeal, but instead to postpone it while we have an opportunity to work out and make the tentative resolution a final resolution this week. Hopefully there are plans to have that done. I apologize. Yeah, I think they are intending to do it by Wednesday before the Thanksgiving holiday. So if you could postpone it until your next regular meeting to provide us that opportunity to finalize it. And if it is finalized, it won't reappear on your next agenda.
Is there a motion?
I have a motion, Madam Mayor. Motion to postpone this item until the next regular city council meeting, recognizing that the city attorney's office and Mr. Stern, Steen, I can't read it right here, Steen, have come to a tentative resolution of this appeal and will only return to council if the resolution is not finalized in writing. That's my motion. Motion of postponement.
Support.
We have a motion and support. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. That carries.
Thank you, council.
You're welcome. Item 4, and just a reminder, if you wanted to speak, please complete a blue card, indicate what item you would like to speak on. And when I have a bunch of these, I put Farmington Hills residents before residents of other cities. And so we're going to, for those of you who were not at the study session, we are going to have an abbreviated presentation now and then go into public comment. Good evening.
It's not switching over.
I can introduce Evan from SFC. No worries, no problem. Good evening, Ellen Schnackel, Director of Special Services, introducing Evan from Sports Facilities Companies. As you're aware, the city's contracted with SFC for several years, looking at the Department of Special Services, but also the potential to replace the Cossack Center. So, Evan, go ahead.
Thank you very much. As Madam Mayor just alluded to, this will be an abridged version of what we covered during the study session, starting sort of midway in with the options. As a reminder, goal for tonight is to provide you with information, data points, community information, and other key considerations as you discuss the future of an activity center related to its site here in Farmington Hills. So, as we worked through our process, as you know, we did evaluate 3 different sites, the Cossack Center site as it currently exists, but a new building, which would be built sort of, we would expect it to be next to the existing building so that it would be, there would be no interruption in service. A location at the Hawk to create a master planned campus for recreation by including an activity center there, and then the OCC site, which has some of its own advantages and also challenges. For tonight's presentation during council, I will focus mostly on Cossack and Hawk. I think that is the direction that we've been given, unless you asked me to elaborate on OCC as well. So just very quickly on OCC, from a site location standpoint, obviously it is new. It is one of the 2 sites that does offer you the opportunity to sell your existing land holdings at the current Cossack site in full. There are some key considerations to think through with the OCC site. One, the city does not own the site, would not own the site. It would be a land lease deal. So both in terms of an annual cost, which we would not, which we do not know yet and have not included in any of our information so far because we don't know it, that is a key consideration. Also, just you know, not having site control and not having the ability to influence what happens directly around and in direct proximity to a location here should be considered as you think about the OCC site as one of your options. Moving on to the 2 sort of higher priority or higher expectation options. We do have the existing Cossack Center site. The city currently owns many acres, and it is home to the building as it currently exists. This is the preferred location from the community engagement initiatives that we took on over a several-month period going back to last year and through the first half of this year. So your 50 and better residents who responded to the surveys, who came to the listening sessions, who interacted through all of our interactions, the majority of them, I shouldn't say the majority, but more than any other site, they refer to their preference for this location. There are partnership opportunities with Rose Senior Living as it relates to the land, but also as it relates to the occupants, the residents at the Rose Senior Living facility. We've gone through a number of discussions with them related to how that would work on site, including with access for the for the folks there that would live on site, and how we might be able to work out an access package in combination with their residents. Existing structure is in place in terms of parking, utility runs, et cetera. Now, that is not a universal is in place, because building on a new site adjacent to it may require some, but from a parking and utility standpoint, we do expect certainly at least efficiencies. And obviously, that does create a dedicated space feel for your activity center as you currently have it at that site. Key challenges as we think about the future, and of course there is no crystal ball, but currently and projected into the future, this is the smallest population, which clearly has an impact in some ways for the number of people you have access to. We are talking currently about a 10-minute drive time. That's not to say that everyone comes from 10 minutes. Clearly, we know that people drive from further, but just as a comparative measure for your 15-better population. The other thing to consider here is, because the city does own land, if you were to rebuild here, you'd have to preserve some of that land. And if you decided to exercise the option to sell the remaining land, it would be a portion of that. We're estimating about 2/3 of your current holding could be sold, and that would be the expectations that would be developed for additional residential living for and by Rose Senior Living. And so there would be a property tax associated with those new units, but again, fewer units if you withhold 1/3 or so of your existing acreage there for the new activity center. And then the other key site here is the Hawk. So the Hawk, obviously, as a large campus with the Hawk and several other amenities, creates an opportunity for a hub for community activity and recreation and gathering. It also creates operational efficiencies above and beyond what the new building itself will generate, but operational efficiencies by virtue of being on site with your highest highest use, highest revenue generating, highest staffed recreation asset, which of course is the Hawk. With building on the Hawk, the city would have the option to exercise the full sale of its land holdings at the current Costic Center site, and has the opportunity, if not built into or directly connected to the Hawk, to preserve that dedicated space feel that is so desirable for your 50 and better population. On the challenges side, if it could not be built standalone, if it was going to be built adjacent to or on the third floor, you would lose that dedicated space feel, which we know would be a challenge for you, your community members. It will also require additional parking. Now, the Hawk site needs a master plan, and I think in total there will be additional parking that comes out of that, regardless of the location of the activity center, but additional parking would certainly be needed with the inclusion of an activity center. And if it is built on site, currently it looks like that would take out some additional or some existing, outdoor program space, and so that would have to be shifted around to other locations. Chuck?
HRC joined the project team to look at the feasibility of the Hawk site and potentially locate a new activity center. The first step was to look at the existing third floor of the facility to find if that could accommodate a gymnasium, pool, and other amenities. It was determined that the roof would need to be raised, structural improvements would be required, and significant HVAC mechanical improvements would be necessary. Those improvements would require a closure of the Hawk facility during that work, and that option was taken off the table. The next options included looking at options A and B, shown up here, which would be a connected facility, the same size as any of the other locations. It would have an elevated crosswalk and connect to the current Hawk facility. Those were determined to be additional costs to the project. In order to do that, the existing parking lot would be impacted. It would require some significant retaining walls and earth retention systems to the west, and the elevated crosswalks would bear additional costs. That would be approximately up to $10 million in excess of what the standalone facility would be. Other alternatives looked at were shown as options C and D. I would like to clarify the orange and the yellow. The yellow represents the square footage of a two-story building. The orange represents what a single-story facility would be. That orange could also be located towards location C. It just takes up additional space from the green space. Options C and D located to the south are what the team is recommending a focus on. As you can see, there's a dedicated access road that would be considered with these options. It would bring access from traffic and pedestrians from 12 Mile to the south to the location of the new facility. Options C and D both present opportunities for additional amenities and parking. The team recommends additional master planning at this point to determine the best location for the facility or other amenities and parking. Thank you.
So we've put together a comparative capital and ongoing expense overview, outline, for you to consider as you think about all three of these sites. We are assuming that whichever location it goes, the building is the building, right? And so those things being equal, we have a $30 million placeholder in place for the actual activity center building. The Hawk, which is considering scenario 3. So that was C, D, the green area, not thinking about the red circle on the previous slides. But that would require some additional road and access improvements, currently estimated to be around $2.5 million. Of course, geotech, environmental, full site engineering study would refine that number, but 2.5 is a reasonable estimate at this point based on the work that's been done, and we feel pretty good about using that as a number here for the current conversation. Do also want to note there is a number that is considered unknown on the OCC site. That is the land lease, and so there is a real number that gets plugged in there. It's not included here because we just have not had that conversation. Offsetting income and operational expenses and savings. First, I'll start with the net proceeds from the Caustic Center land sale. We are expecting that the net income after the sale price would be more, but the city will have some responsibilities in tearing down the old building potentially, or some remediation or whatever it may be. So we're using a $3 million net income opportunity. If it's built at the Caustic Center site and you withhold 1/3 of your land, $3 million becomes $2 million. On the property taxes, same story over all of the acreage and we've worked with Rose on their potential building plans. It's not confirmed which option they would go with, but based on the information available today, we assume that the full land sale has a $750,000 tax implication over the course of the 5 years. That gets cut down to $500,000 if it's at the Caustic Center, again, because not all of the land gets developed for residential property. And then we've done an analysis working with Ellen and her team on operational savings, and the estimate is that if you locate this on-site at the Hawk with service contracts, operations, maintenance, and staffing, plus revenue generating opportunities, the combination of those things equals about a $300,000 annual operation savings between somewhat increased revenue and decreased expenses as well. I want to point out something. Mr. Bridges asked me a question during the study session, tried to lead me to water, and I just did not know to drink. So the question that he asked was, what are the operational efficiencies at the caustic site? And what I should have said is, all three of these are compared to each other for a new activity center. If you think about the existing caustic center versus any of these options, we previously gave the full financial breakdown and projections. There is, for any one of these three, the range is $330,000 to $430,000 per year, that any one of these three options provides you above and beyond what you currently have at the caustic center. That's caused by three primary drivers. One, it's a much smaller, more efficient use of space. Two, new systems rather than very old, antiquated, expensive systems for things like your pool pumps and whatnot. And then third is the fact that this facility with some of the amenities can generate some more revenue through non-50 and better off-peak programming and some community demand for things like courts, indoor courts as an example. So when you look at the total comparative cost, again, now that I've clarified that, these are these three stacked up against each other. This is not meant to be anything related to the existing center, but the new paths forward have, yes, different financial implications, not massive financial implications. So as we talked about during the study session, all of these are considerations worth taking into account. There is no silver bullet. There is no clear red flag versus green flag, got to go in this direction. It makes no sense to do anything else. These are all points for you to consider as you consider the path forward and the decision. So speaking about timeline, we have broken this down into pre-development and development. So the pre-development phase, we are, for now, talking about it as about a one-year process to make the decision as to where the site goes, to work on the funding so that you can move forward with start of construction. And during that time, we do recommend, regardless of where this new activity center goes, that you complete a Hawk site master plan. Obviously, that becomes much more important to this topic if it is going to be at the Hawk. So when you get into the development timeline, standard development timeline in terms of components, design, and cost estimating, RFP for construction, site prep, rough construction, full construction, FF&E installation, and then getting into soft and grand opening. We expect that to be a 2.5 or so year for a project of this size. And so when you look at those, they could happen across the spectrum of the pre-development and the development timeline overlapping. It could go as far out as this, or even further if you decide to take more time in pre-development for one reason or another. But ultimately, the timeline for getting to cutting a ribbon and entering into a new activity center will be dependent on funding structure, availability of funds, and the direction of council. So we anticipate that this is at a minimum a 2.5 to 3 year process, and could be more like a 3 to 4 year process, would be fairly standard from where we are today. Ellen?
Good evening again. So Special Services leadership staff have worked closely with the city manager, the finance department, as well as our consultants, HRC and SFC. We believe the path forward is to build a new standalone center on the Hawk property. The planning for this new addition will require taking the time, as we've discussed, to master plan the entire property. In addition, the current Costic Center should remain open while a new facility is built, whether it's on the Hawk site or at the Costic Center site. You as a city council are going to give us that direction after I think we provide you with a little bit more research and information. The thing about the Hawk site, I think that is some of the preference that we've talked about earlier, has to do with operational efficiencies, as mentioned, as well as consolidating to one campus and how that really ties nicely in with our currently enacted and approved mission, vision, and goals that were discussed and we approved as a community. So in the end, of course, up to council to make that decision, and happy to answer any questions that you have for me or the consultants. Thank you.
Okay, so before we go to public comment, is there anyone on council who has something they would like to say?
I just have a point of clarification. You had mentioned that the 300,000 operational efficiency was applicable to every site, whether it's, okay.
Yeah, sorry, let me clarify, and I'm going to go back to it.
Yes.
And that's why I didn't get led to water properly, or didn't drink the water properly after being led to it. The $300,000 annual efficiency is for the Hawk site versus the OCC site or the Costic site for any new location. This is after the fact that right now, any new building gives you a $330,000 to $430,000 annual cost savings versus the existing Costic Center, because it is much larger than you need, and it has very old systems, and so it's inefficient. So where you are currently in your seniors, you go down $330,000 to $430,000 from current financial performance when you do one of these, And if you do it at the Hawk site, then the operations, maintenance, staffing, and revenue generation come into play. So versus OCC or Caustic Center, current site, new building, that's where you get the additional $300,000 annually. Does that clarify?
So it's a $300,000 regardless of where it's built, an additional $300,000 if the Hawk site is selected.
Yeah,
Am I
call
correct?
it six, versus today.
Yes.
The Hawk site is $600,000 to $700,000 better. The others are $300,000 to $400,000 better.
Thank you.
That was probably an easier way to say it.
Now we get it.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Anybody else? All right, we'll go to public comment. We will begin with Stephen Ludwig, to be followed by Dan Fiantore. Steve always has to get a ride.
Well, come think I've been to the Hawk. Well, I mean, I had an orphan who used to go to the Caustic there before he died. I mean, Richard did. So you're gonna make some more improvements in the Hawk? You might be building a third floor? I mean, a walking track? In the Hawk? Well, you haven't spent much time in the Caustic Center. It's a senior place. I mean, over the years. Well, you've seen the outside of the place. Yeah, I mean, every now and then I go to the Hawk. I mean, I've been to the Hawk before. I mean, I have. I remember the Hawk first opened. Well, I didn't join the Hawk. I went to Planet Fitness. It was cheap. Yeah, I mean, I have another friend at the Hawk. I mean, he's in my complex. I mean, this guy is. I mean, Clay Barber. Well, yeah, so you would build a stackway at the Hawk? So you can walk across the traffic? Oh, yeah, I mean the Hawk's 2 miles from my place, 2 buses or effects. I mean I have. Next month's probably visit the Hawk, maybe. I mean, I still can't go to your walk mile because they have to work. I mean, second Tuesday of December. I mean, I would like to. You're gonna make some more improvements in the Hawk?
Thank you, Stephen. Happy Thanksgiving. Dan Fiantore, to be followed by Linda Carlucci. Good evening.
I am Dan Fantor. I'm Chair of the Farmington Area Commission on Aging. I'm a weekly user of the Caustic Center and the Hawk, and I'm a friend of the Caustic Center. Last year, users of the Caustic Center were anxious and frustrated to hear that plans were underway to replace the Caustic Center. And they felt that they did not have an avenue to express their views to the city and the council. In December of last year and in March of this year, the Commission on Aging held 3 listening sessions on the future of the Caustic Center. You should know those results. The vast majority of participants strongly preferred the 11-mile location. The location of the Hawk on 12 Mile near the busy intersection of Orchard Lake, its current parking situation, the driving patterns at the Hawk were cited by users as major obstacles to participation at the Hawk facility. We do not understand the advantages of option D over option C presented today. Option D seems a long way from the signal light on 12 Mile Road, and we know that roads cost money. We're concerned if we move to the Hawk that we'll lose the frail elderly who feel comfortable driving on 11 Mile, but not so on 12 Mile. Additional transportation could help with this challenge. We're concerned that there's talk of a 2-floor facility. Seniors, folks 50 and better, want 1 floor. We're concerned with the length of the drive from the signal on 12 Mile to option D and the cost of that road. Site A looked awfully good, very close to 12 Mile. Doesn't require another road, so we're not sure why that is not being considered if we're going to go to the Hawk. The Costic users appreciated the listening sessions organized by the Commission on Aging. Users would like, going forward, a city-facilitated process or advisory committee contact point that would seek input regularly from seniors on the future Center for Seniors. Thanks for listening to folks 50 and better.
Thank you, Dan. Linda Carlucci to be followed by Stephen Art. Good evening.
Linda Carlucci. I live in Farmington Hills at 9 Mile and Gill. I was just interested that the study session was focused only on the locations at the Hawk, and nothing was compared to a new location at the Costic Center in front of it, wherever that would be. And I was wondering why that was not done. It would have been appreciative if we could compare the two, rather than seeing 2 places at the Hawk. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Art to be followed by Lori Darrow. Good evening.
I've been through several of these study groups and multiple studies at the Caustic Center. And every time I hear people talking, I hear them talk about they want to keep the caustic site. What I'm hearing from our council is you want to put us up in the attic of the Hawk, put us out of the way. If you can't get away with that, you want to put us in the back lot, away from everybody else. Our city has an ice skating rink, it has baseball parks, it has golf courses, it has parks, it has a splash pad, it has all of these facilities for younger people. The seniors would like to have their own private, their own center for themselves. I would like to have you listen to the seniors and not to the outsiders. I would also like them to state that this is a senior center, not an activity center. This is based for the seniors. And the 50 plus is inaccurate because the 50-year-olds don't come to the Caustic Center. It is for the 70 and the 80 and the 90-year-olds. So I also did not see anything about the Caustic Center site. So I feel like you've already made a decision, and the decision isn't consistent with the citizens of Farmington Hills.
Thank you. Nope. Lori Darrow to be followed by Christopher Moore.
Hi, I'm Lori Darrow. I am a 50-year resident of the city of Farmington Hills and a 40-year taxpayer. These are some of the things I noticed in the presentation. I am not convinced that there's a 300K operational efficiency. There still will be 2 pools that need to be staffed. There will still be 2 parking lots that need to be snow plowed, 2 driveways snow plowed. with snow removal and all of that. So everything will be duplicated anyway, no matter where we're located. As the city manager said, the 2 staffs will also remain. So I just don't see the operational efficiency. The new building will be more efficient, smaller, and have far less maintenance issues. So that will be a savings in itself. The 22% of the 50 or better that use the Hawk, I'm sure are between 50 and 65 and come after work and on the weekends. There's a big difference in a 50-year-old and what an 80-year-old needs. And that needs to be thought about seriously when doing the senior center. The 50 to 60-year community already has the Hawk. And I'm really, really concerned about the people that will be left behind, the seniors that will be left behind if we move to the Hawk location. You're wanting to put more traffic in an already really busy road, and they're afraid of it, flat out, they're afraid. Nobody mentioned that the C option is a 2-story building. It's not even a 1-story building. I don't think anybody picked up on that. But C is 2 stories, and 2 stories is not ideal for the senior population. The parking lot at the Costic Center already exists, and there are no cost estimates for how much that parking lot is going to cost at the Hawk. I just see more money thrown at the Hawk location. This population is aging, and we need a large commercial kitchen in the new location. We need more meals being prepared as the senior population gets older. And already, most of the events that have a lunch are all filled up, and there's waiting lists, and they're sold out, and people can't get into them because we don't have a large enough kitchen as it is. The 2 locations are really only about a mile apart, so the 10-minute driving distance really does nothing for me. The third of the population are seniors. Most have paid taxes here for decades. They deserve your respect. They deserve to be heard. And more than just heard, they deserve to be listened to. And they've been telling you for a very long time that they want to stay at the Costic Center. We are thankful that we're getting a new location that is safer than the current location, and we look forward to the city manager, mayor, and council working together with the community to make this a place that all seniors can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Nope. Let's please maintain decorum. Christopher Moore to be followed by Suzanne Dengiz. Good evening.
I'm gonna wait for that thing to chirp.
Okay, go.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Chris Moore. I've lived in Farmington Hills for about the last 54 years. So I've been here for a while. I'm a retired school teacher, just started using the Costic Center about 2 years ago. So at 50 years old, I wouldn't go over there. That's where the old folks were. Now I am one of the old folks. But fact of the matter is, we do like our own place. Being attached to the Hawk, I don't know why you want to spend that $10 million to have a bridgeway. Another place possibly you could put it, if you had to put it at the Hawk, put it along the back edge of the football field. It'd be a lot closer if you had to use Harrison. And Harrison isn't all that young. Harrison's been around Farmington about as long as I have. It's only 7 years younger than Mercy. So that doesn't make a ton of sense that you're putting all your chips on that. We need a place that we can call our own. And we deserve that. That's it.
Yeah. Suzanne Dengiz to be followed by Anita Wagner. Good evening.
Ready? Congratulations, Mayor Rich, re-elected city council members, and Charlie Starkman, our new city council member. My name is Suzanne Dengiz, and my husband and I are 51-year residents of Farmington Hills. Over the years, I have been an avid user of the Costic Center, and I love all that it offers to seniors. I hope that together, all of us, we will be able to make more progress in building a new center during the next couple of years. I hope it is our goal to build a senior center which has all the facilities, activities, events, and meals that we currently offer to our seniors. The Costick Center has made the lives of so many people so much better, enjoyable, supportive, and healthy. These are some of the things that we are offering right now, and they need to continue. Communal dining with a large enough industrial kitchen to feed 150 to 200 people, a full, nutritious meal every day, and to accommodate Meals on Wheels for thousands of hungry people. A therapeutic swimming pool for people with disabilities and an area for lap swimming, aerobics, etc. A very large gym for pickleball and multiple types of exercise classes. 2 to 3 extra large rooms for many types of many yoga classes, dance classes, etc. Rooms to accommodate lifelong learning, like technology, computers, iPhones, iPads, and along with that, games like euchre, bridge, book discussions. We have support groups for Alzheimer's, caregivers, bereavement, Parkinson's, etc., and services are offered for adult daycare programs for memory loss, mental challenges with group activities. I don't know what many of these people would do without these excellent programs. This provides a place for people to get together, socialize, and make new friends. We need a facility which accommodates many people with mobility issues like canes, walkers, wheelchairs, etc. Many seniors cannot navigate stairs and would struggle in an emergency such as a fire, power outage, or other disasters. So a 2-story building is not good. I hope that you will consider the lives of the people we are helping when you choose a new place that is appropriate for all seniors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita Wagner to be followed by Geraldine Van Hout. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Anita Wagner. I've been living here for 30 years, and I've also worked for the city. And I'd like to advocate for those who are currently working at the Costick Center. Gary had mentioned if they are still working here, they will be there. That kind of sounds like maybe somebody might quit or be fired when you want to try and reduce the staff. So I just want to advocate for that. I also want to bring up the idea of fiscal responsibility. There's many seniors that have 2 locations, 2 houses here in Florida or here up north, and they're responsible because they have the money to afford it. But they look at the qualitative value of having that second location that is something that they couldn't have in just one location. And so I'd like to put at that sometimes when we buy a car, we don't buy the cheapest car. We buy the car that gives us the value that we enjoy it. So I'd like to bring that up. Also, I agree with Lori when she said number C. C looks like it has to be a second floor because you go in, to the left is first floor parking lot. Go straight, that's a second level parking. And then to the right would be the third level parking. So C, that is in the picture, that's in the back parking lot, to access that, you can't have a second level going straight and then go down. There's a big drop on that second level. So it would have to be a second floor, like she said, which I agree, does not sound very good. And also for the D, like they said, we would lose the the baseball field and the soccer field, which I think some sports people would not be happy. And then also having the D location, many people who are younger are going to be annoyed with the senior center, and there's going to be competition for that parking in the summertime of those going to the pickleball and to the senior center because it's right there next to pickleball. So D sounds like some competition and problems. Going back to the hiring, the city has been hiring a lot more people, so there has been higher cost if you look in the budget for employee staff. I do have an idea about the housing when we approve the new housing that's coming through. For the seniors, I'd like to advocate that they consider when they're building, like wherever, that they would have a house. Instead of call it the mother-in-law quarter, you would call a parent quarter. So you have one house dedicated. Thank you.
Sherilyn Van Hout, to be followed by Angie Smith.
I don't really know what that light is for, but I think I'm waiting for the buzz. Okay, my name is Sherilyn Van Hout. This is my second ever council meeting, but I'm very aware of the Costick Center and what it means to me and what it means to have it relocated. I have notes on my phone and it's not coming in. Okay, so what happened? Because I don't have this prepared. Okay, let me see if I can just do it on my own. The first thing I want to say is that I looked at the plans, and I have a little bit of background in this, so I can read them really well. And I can see that the budget considerations are primary, and many people don't realize that, but the budget considerations of building a new building are very primary to what Farmington Hills can do. The existing building, the Costick Center, is a wonderful old thing. It was built in the 60s or 70s. It's rambling, it's old, it's one level, it's got lots of empty space, which is filled with current programming. If you have the rooms, you fill it with programming of many aforementioned things by other people here. It's along 11 Mile, which is a very, mild stretch of mile roads. It's not 12 Mile Road. But if people drive cars, they should be able to turn at lights, make right-hand turns, and use red lights, green lights, turning signals. So I don't see 12 Mile as a problem. The next thing is that what I see as the major problem of sites A, B, and C is that there has to be parking dedicated that does not cross traffic with the parking that is now dedicated to the Hawk. That just produces traffic jams. So the most primary thing I see as a problem with the planning, I'm not going to go into the programming of the building itself because that still is forthcoming, whether it's 1 story or 2 stories. But the problem is the access to the site in the back along the freeway. Now I'm going to address that later. But if there's any parking lot, it should be dedicated for that building. A dedicated building without little bridges over to the 2nd floor of the Costick Center, the Hawk. It should be a building on its own, I agree. To have the building back along the freeway is not tucked in the back, hidden away. It's the most visible place you can put a building on that site because it's right along 696. So don't forget about that. It could be a jewel. The site itself is sloped, so the building itself doesn't have to be a big cube or a big long rectangle, curved or whatever it is. It can be a very, very beautiful building in the back. But most important is getting the seniors in and out of there without cross traffic. So C doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, A, B, C, D doesn't make any sense. You combine the parking lots of the both of them, why? If it can be managed to put the building along the freeway, 1 story is better than 2, and the access to the parking lot is most important. It can be a beautiful building. We can sell the name of the building to a large contributor. It could be the Smith Center. So let's just consider cost too. Thank you.
Thank you. Angie Smith, to be followed by Pat Hansen.
Good evening. As many of you know, I did run for the seat for City Council, but I am not running now. And when I did run, it wasn't that I ran just to win, to talk about this. I went over to the Caustic Center, and I actually did a video. We have let our seasoned members of our community down. I have gone through other districts and communities and looked at their senior or seasoned members' buildings. This is a disgrace. We are not financially unhealthy here. These people deserve a building that they can have activities, meet with their friends. Most of them, this is all that they have. We all know, because I do sit on Farmington Public School Board, and I'm still there, we sold that building to the city. And what I'm beginning to believe is, once it was sold and made the Hawk, the city planned to just throw these seniors away. It's not fair to them. It is not fair to them to have a building where wiring is coming out, floors have not been cleaned. The swimming pool looks like it does, and you could go into the bathroom and people have left little surprises, devil's donuts. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, we have to think of these people. We don't just throw our seniors away. We don't. To put them at the Hawk, it's hard for them to get around in that building, let alone parking. If most of you remember, we had some students that were killed right there at that intersection. That's why we have a light. To put them at OCC, it's hard for a young person to navigate over there. So I'm asking you, as our city council, to think of these seniors. I'm a senior. Well, I'm seasoned. But think of them and think of what they need. Let's not think of just you, because all of you are seniors too, except for one. But at the end of the day, let's think about each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Hansen.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple points in regards to the presentation. Does anybody know the percentage of non-residents that use the Caustic Center? Because they do drive more than 10 miles, so that would skew those figures. And also, you're going to need space in order to park the smart type buses in the parking lots, and also delivery trucks need to have the radius to turn around when they're delivering foods for Meals on Wheels. Also, your master planning, how much is that going to cost, and the timing? And is that only relevant to the Hawk, or is it also needed for the Caustic Center? And what will be your percentage of staff reduction for your savings of $300,000 a year? And the visibility behind the Hawk. Your seniors have a hard enough time finding the Caustic Center. You're going to put a building behind the Hawk where they have to drive down a very long road to try to locate it. Yes, you might be able to see it off of 696, but at 80 miles an hour, that's not going to get you anywhere. When a place is decided and you're starting to design a new senior activity center, it would make sense to include every department head that will be touching the new facility. They already have the expertise in their own particular field, and no added expense would be necessary. We are hoping that you will have a project manager who will serve as a liaison to the whole community. The project manager should be the one voice that will update the community on the progress of the new senior activity center, hopefully through the messenger, since that is given out to all the seniors. With such a large project in the Special Services Department, which encompasses the Park and Rec Commission, I would hope they would meet on a regular basis to discuss the future of a new senior activity center. I understand that the commission is supposed to meet on a monthly basis, but have not met in several months due to a lack of a quorum. It should be imperative for them to meet on a regular basis to be kept informed regarding the progress of a new facility. And I know you're hearing us, you have all told us you're hearing us, but I'm not sure that you're really understanding what we're trying to convey to you. The seniors would like their own place. I use it 5 days a week, sometimes twice in one day. It is a place where they belong, where they can find friendship and unity, and just a place to call home when they're lonely and need to find somebody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and that ends public comment. Council,
I have a couple questions.
please.
I had a couple people ask me questions at the break, and so I will kind of reiterate them just to make sure either I answered them correctly or to get clarifying information. One of the questions had to do with, on the map, option A and B, as proposed, that would be a building built in the existing parking lot to the west of the Hawk. And the idea is that it would have a bridge. Again, the seniors would have their own facility, but it would have a bridge connecting to the third floor because it would be kind of, well, the A and B was a partial building, and then there was an elevated bridge connecting to the Hawk. Okay, that was that option. The question raised was, what if instead of having the connecting bridge, that one building was built in that parking lot, a one-story building was built in that parking lot to the west of the existing Hawk. So no, it was not connected to the Hawk. Their own facility, no elevated bridge, and it would have the pool and the gym and meeting space, so their own building in the parking lot to the west, kind of where A and B were located on the map. But then, west of that, where currently there's that woods, you would put the parking so they would have their own dedicated parking. So that came up. My answer was, as I understand it, that option adds an incredible amount of cost because there is a drop-off, a ravine or a large drop-off that in order to extend the parking that would be needed, that it would require such a large retaining wall to build and elevate it that it would be just cost prohibited. Did I get that correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay, just want to make sure I answered that correctly. And then the other question was regarding the master plan. And I answered that my understanding is that the master plan is needed to, because again, option C and D in that big circle, and I do want to reiterate that option C does not necessarily mean a two-story building. That is just a placeholder. Nothing's been decided on one or two story. We hear you. That was just a box that was sit in that's kind of a rudimentary map here that they just stuck a box in. But in the green circle, my understanding is that the master planning would be to determine where in that circle would be the best location, and then also how a road would be built, a separate road to get to it, the configuration of the building within there, and then also how the parking would be laid out so that the seniors would have their own separate parking, but that the Hawk would also have enough parking for them. That is my understanding of what the master plan is for. Correct me if I missed anything.
All of those things would be part of the master plan, specifically outlining ingress, egress, flow of traffic, parking, dedicated parking, even ways to contain parking on event days so that you don't have overflow and overlap, and all of that would be part of it. The only things that you're missing are other site amenities that might not be specific to an activity center, but more to recreation across the Hawk. If there are, as I mentioned before, like a small event lawn space or gazebo, pavilion, whatever else it may be in there, but all of that would come into play. But yes, I think the core question is, would all of those key pieces of information, site location, building size, building elements, parking, roadways, site access, all of those would be part of what we would recommend for you to look for a master plan to be created for.
Thank you. Just want to clarify and make sure I got those correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Well, what action would you like to take, council?
Let me just make, actually, I'd like to make a comment and then I'll make
Please.
a motion. I think obviously there's a lot of expression of how important the facility is, and I think many of the council members have expressed this, and I'll express it again, that it is our intent really very much to listen and hear, and those comments around services. Clearly, it's important to retain those services. That's a given. We are talking about the building and the location, and that building, I think it's a fair comment. We didn't talk about what the caustic site would be, but I think that was taken as being, that would be at the front of the caustic site, and that was more straightforward than at the Hawk. So the question was, could it work at the Hawk? Right, and that was the reason for the discussion. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that was part of what we were discussing there in terms of the pros and the cons of doing that, where it's more expensive to build at the Hawk, but has the ongoing operational efficiency potentially to offset that. So I make a motion that I move that it's resolved that the City Council has chosen the future site of the city's new activities centre as recommended at the November 24th, 2025 City Council study session, and authorises the city manager to procure the necessary engineering, architectural and other consultants needed to develop preliminary site and architectural plans for City Council's consideration, provided that the caustic centre may be given further consideration in the future if the engineering, architectural and other consultant site and architectural plans are found to be not acceptable once prepared and reviewed by City Council.
One comment.
Yes.
I just, I like your motion. However, I want to make clear that the caustic center and the Hawk will be considered side by side as an option, not just as an afterthought. I want this motion to include the fact that the Hawk will be studied with the motion you stated, but I want also the caustic center to be equally represented in that particular motion, not as a secondary option, as a primary option, and that is considered as a primary option. So if you can amend your motion to reflect that, I can support it.
I propose that we maybe discuss that as a proposal.
Okay. Is there a second to Mr. Aldred's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We have a request for a friendly amendment, so let's have discussion on that. Okay. Ms. Bolaware.
Yes, the motion as read indicates that we would only consider the caustic if there's some architectural.
If it was found to be not acceptable to City Council.
Right. It's pretty broad.
Oh, okay, all right.
Also talked about engineering. If I recall, you
Engineering, architectural, other consultant site and architectural plans are found to be not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
So the review basically is, as reviewed by City Council, is not acceptable.
My comment is, will the maker of the motion accept my friendly amendment to that motion?
Well, we have a motion and a second, so it is, I don't see, Mr. City Manager, or Mr. City Attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have a motion on the table that provides, as it stands, for the Hawk, two proposed sites, C and D, to undergo, to bring in consultants and incur costs to start engineering, architectural, and other consultant site and architectural plans. So it's the actual preparation of plans for the C and D options at the Hawk. Those plans, as I understand this, would be brought back to council after review and worked on by staff and the consultants for your further consideration at that time. If you do not find them acceptable, then it's up to you if at that point in time you want to bring the caustic center option back before. To change that, it would require the original motion to be actually changed to include the caustic center and eliminate that last half of the motion on the, from provided that the caustic center site may be given further consideration, that part of the motion would no longer apply, and you would be modifying the recommended motion that's in your agenda packet to include the caustic. So that would be the amendment. It would need to be fleshed out with a motion to do that and then seconded. And if that amendment achieves a majority vote, then the motion would be changed to include it.
So do we have to vote on the motion on the floor, assuming the friendly amendment is not picked up at this time?
That's correct, yes.
Because for the friendly amendment to be picked up, Mr. Aldred and Mr. Dwyer would both have to agree to that. Is that correct?
No. An amendment could be proposed by any member of City Council. It could be seconded. Does not necessarily have to be by the maker and seconder. It can, and then voted on, but it does not have to be.
May I make a comment? My reason for not adopting it was that actually I think the development of the caustic center is relatively straightforward, all right? And that could be a good thing, right? But it's relatively straightforward, and I'm not sure it requires a simultaneous dual path engineering investment site plan to pay for the engineering work of how to plan the caustic center plus how to do the Hawk at the same time. My assumption would be that the development of the caustic center, if that was seen to be a preferred route after looking at the Hawk, would be relatively straightforward, and the cost of doing both at the same time would seem to be unnecessary cost. That was my reasoning.
I agree.
And that's why I seconded your motion, just exactly for the reasons what you just pointed out. As far as, you're bringing the caustic center, it's there. It can always be brought back into the big picture, but to have two in the big picture at this time seems ridiculous to me.
I can't support the motion if it's a secondary. You're implying it's a secondary option for the caustic center, and I can't support the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Null.
Well, I don't look at, in my view, I don't look at it as secondary, because I think that it's already been stated that if we're just kind of going to build a box, not a box building, but a square or rectangular building at the caustic center property, we can do that. I am interested in at least seeing this kind of master plan or this study at the Hawk. I would like to see how this road would work. I would like to see in this green circle kind of what a preferred location would be so that we could get visibility off of 696, so that we can also make sure that it's navigable for the seniors. Sorry, I slaughtered that word. So that they can get in at the turn, at the light, that they can make their way back there, that there's accessible parking. I'm interested in seeing how that would all work. And I think that's not quite as simple, so I think that needs to happen. So that's why I think that we should go forward with looking at this option, because we already know how to move forward with plans if indeed we have to, if we choose to build it on the property at the Hawk.
So let's go forward with other council member comments. Anyone else, please?
Go ahead. Yes, let me go. I'm somewhat confused at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking, the purpose of our discussion, I assume, was to determine the best site for our senior center. And the three options were presented, and one, we definitely said no at OCC, and there's still the caustic location and the Hawk location as viable options. Now, the motion that I've heard tonight sounds to me as if it's saying, well, let's proceed with the Hawk location. We're going to do the engineering studies, the architectural studies, maybe the traffic patterns coming in and out. And if those are acceptable from the information that we get from the consultant, we would proceed with the Hawk. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. And my concern is, I think that for me, it takes the caustic out of the equation, and I'm not, and that's the part where I'm struggling with, and I think that's probably what Councilman Bridges is struggling with.
Yes.
Is that we're taking the caustic out of the equation, although I'm hearing from others that, no, we're not, because if we don't want the Hawk, then we could go to the caustic. And for me, that's a very problematic approach to what I'm hearing right now. And I don't want to take that out of the equation.
Dr. Starkman?
Yes, I'm thinking along the same lines as Councilwoman Boulware, and I think my perspective on this is that not only the confusion about sort of neglecting the caustic center, but it's also in a sense sort of neglecting a little bit of what the seniors coming before us have been saying. My background is in clinical psychology. Disability and accessibility are important to me, and I think if we are immediately looking at the Hawk when we are not taking into consideration the very, the legitimate concerns and questions that have not been answered yet, we're negating an option, and I find that to be problematic. And I think there is a lot that caustic has to offer in its current space. Thinking also about cost effectiveness. I had a question earlier about how much additional parking would cost to the Hawk. We don't know that yet. Caustic has parking. They're just different factors that make me uncomfortable supporting that motion. That's all.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second. Mr. Bridges, is what you said a motion? I'm trying,
There'll be an amendment to that.
well, nope, this would have to be a separate motion. So you would have to make a motion that would basically be on top of the first one. So if you were to make a motion, you could make a motion. If there's a second, we vote on that. If that fails, then it goes back to the motion that we have on the table now.
City Attorney for interpretation.
If I may.
Yes?
Yes, no, the procedure is a motion to amend the existing motion in a specific way.
Okay.
And that would have to be stated in the motion to amend the motion that's currently on the table. It's a motion to amend the motion. So it's not a new motion or a separate motion.
Thank you.
It's a.
Okay, so what is your motion to amend?
My motion to amend is that caustic center's site location be given same level of, scrutiny as the Hawk. I feel very strongly that the caustic center offers some great advantages as outlined in the presentation we heard earlier today. We all know about that. And the intangible benefit of staying at the Hawk is significant. And the operational efficiencies that have been stated regarding the Hawk location of $300,000, that has to be itemized for me to see that and to see that on paper. But I just think very strongly that the caustic center site location should be as considered as same level as the Hawk. It should not be as a afterthought or a option if the Hawk considerations are found to be good, then the caustic center is out. I don't think that should be the case at all. I think if you look at the presentation tonight, the Hawk and the caustic center both had advantages, but the point is that the caustic center is what the people want in this community, and I did not see anything of significance within the Hawk site location that differs from that at all. I did not. I mean, you talked about $300,000 operational efficiency savings, but I have not seen that identified and itemized from a standpoint of me to see that as a benefit. I did not.
Is there a second to Mr. Bridges' amendment?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any addition?
Attorney.
Yeah, I'm sorry, point of order, Madam Mayor. There's been no there's been a motion made, it has language in it, and there's been no proposed modifications to how it's worded. What I am hearing is actually a new motion, that is the opposite motion, or a different motion that has a different proposal as part of it.
As opposed to an amendment?
As opposed to an amendment. So
Go ahead.
what I'd suggest procedurally is to vote on the motion that's on the table. If it fails, then you can come to another motion that is a different motion to see if that passes.
Well, okay, but let me ask this. Is there a way that the motion on the table can be amended to incorporate what Mr. Bridges is asking?
I have a point of clarification here.
Yeah, go ahead.
What Mr. Bridges is asking is for, what we're talking about here is an engineering study at the Hawk. So it sounds like Mr. Bridges wants an engineering study for the Caustic Center. So is that what you're looking for?
I'm asking for both of you to be on the same
So,
level regarding.
Mr. Vetchian, and I don't know if this is a question for you or one of the engineers over here, does the Caustic Center require an engineering study to also be considered? Or is that pretty much already done as far as the layout and the shape of the building, or where the building would sit on the property? Like, what would need to be done to do that?
So, as I explained to each one of you individually, the Hawk site is much more challenging than the Caustic Center. That being said, you're going to need to have it, let me rewind. You have staff's recommendation of where staff and the subject matter experts feel that the facility should be located. I understand there's externalities. It's not just a $300,000 operational swing. It's a $750,000 a year potential tax upshot from selling the Caustic Center lock, stock, and barrel. It's also a swing between potential 1/3 less in the overall revenue from the sale of the Caustic Center as well. That is going to, at some point, and we're not talking funding tonight, but all of those numbers are going to play into the funding calculations of how we're going to get from here to there, right? So I just want council to know that. The concept that you're hearing is in that red circle, in that south portion of the property. We don't know where the building's going to go. We have to master plan that property, which includes the road and the grading and the building, and probably a couple, maybe 3 options for council to consider that will include some of the green space, maybe some programming for outdoor courts, pickleball courts, things like that, that we don't, these are just boxes. This is very conceptual. Now, having said that, if the council wants to do something at the Caustic Center, we will need to have the same level, maybe, how do I put this? It's an easier site. There's not as much grading, it's flat. You'd probably push it up against 11 Mile Road, right? And so it's an easier site, but you're still gonna have to have engineering and site, architecture, site grading, all of that stuff to a certain extent so you can get a price. So it's easier, but you're still gonna have to do that work. And I know time is a consideration as well. That is a variable. Cost is a variable. So if you're asking me, if your thought here is you want to develop plans for both properties at the same time, it's more money, okay? We're gonna spend, I don't know, guys, Chuck's in the crowd, I can't put a dollar amount on it, but we're probably somewhere in the, $250,000 range for each property.
Mr. City Manager, I just want to just make this comment. I mean, thank you for clearing it up and adding the fact.
Just trying to help you with your deliberations.
Appreciate that. I thank you for those comments, because the fact is that, the city is a well-run city. We have a hefty fund balance of $60 million in the bank, right? Is that correct?
True, and you're going to need some for this facility.
Listen, $60 million in the bank, and we got a citizenry out here that basically, who have desired the Caustic Center as a location throughout all the public input sessions, Again, I do not see any significant advantages of going to the Hawk, other than you mentioned about $250,000 difference regarding the property tax situation, $300,000 for operational efficiency, potential savings. I have not seen that itemized either. So I just feel that the intangibles should be considered as high as possible on this decision because of the fact that the community input over the years have been regarding the Cossack Center.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying about it.
So let's call the question on Mr. Bridges' motion. So yes?
What I was indicating is that the motion to amend it, it does not qualify as a motion to amend because it hasn't amended the motion. It made the opposite motion. So as a point of order that I was making, that it is not a motion that is presently in order because you haven't voted on the main motion yet.
But when I make the motion for the amendment, I'm asking for the engineering study that the city manager has basically articulated will be necessary regarding the Cossack Center location. Could that suffice as an amendment to that point? City Attorney. With that, the city manager just stated that the engineering studies will be needed for the Cossack Center location. He just stated that. So.
If I may, Madam Mayor, the current motion provides for that to occur only if the engineering and site plans come back to city council and you decide that those don't work, then you would do the engineering and site plan work for the Cossack Center at that time.
So basically, Mr. Bridges' amendment is not at all that. It doesn't fit as an amendment to the motion on the table.
That's correct, because the motion on the table has a proviso at the end of it that talks about it coming back later.
We'll vote on the motion on the table and then go from there.
And then if that fails, then it would come back and Mr. Bridges would make a motion, I presume, to do the architectural, engineering, site plan work on both sites.
Both sites. Exactly right. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Okay. So this would ordinarily be a regular vote. I'm suggesting that it should be a roll call vote. So does anyone need the motion repeated?
No.
No.
Okay.
I do. I'd like to hear it again.
You want to read this again?
Yes.
Well, yes, the answer is yes, Mr. Aldridge.
Yes, I will read it again. So I move to, that is resolved that City Council has chosen the future site of the city's new activity center as recommended at the November 24th, 2025 City Council study session and authorizes the city manager to procure the necessary engineering, architectural, and other consultants needed to develop preliminary site and architectural plans for City Council's consideration, provided that the Cossack Center site may be given further consideration in the future if the engineering, architectural, and other consultant site and architectural plans are found to be not acceptable once prepared and reviewed by City Council.
Okay, so that is the motion on the table, and this is a roll call vote.
Point of
Yes.
discussion
Yes.
before we proceed. And this is addressed really to our city attorney. Does this motion mean that we are selecting the Hawk site? And if we find these architectural details do not meet our standards, then we can go to the Cossack and consider the Cossack?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. It will come back to you for a determination whether to proceed after you review the plans that have been prepared, as Mr. Mexian explained, at considerable expense. But that set of plans would come back and you could decide we don't like those or for whatever reason, and you decided to go back to the Hawk or go to the Hawk, or I apologize, go to the Cossack Center in the future. That is an option that would remain available to you.
So if Mr. Aldridge's motion fails, then we go for another motion on perhaps perhaps Mr. Bridges' motion? Okay. So, fine. Then let's do the roll call vote, please.
Council members Dwyer,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Starkman,
No.
Aldred,
Yes.
Bullaware,
No.
Bridges,
No.
Mayor Rich.
Yes. Okay, so that carries. All right, that takes us then to item 5, consideration of a request to reconsider council's motion to deny cluster site plan 54-4-2025, Forest at Riverwalk, south side of Folsom Road between Parker Avenue and Dundee Drive.
Can't believe it.
Okay, so we'll give people a minute who are leaving. Okay. So, what is coming before us now? Let people go and shut the door. All right, what has come before us now is a request from a property owner and applicant for the council to reconsider a decision that we made at our last meeting to deny the cluster site plan approval based on new and additional information provided by the applicant regarding their proposal. So, for the folks here and those who may be watching, procedurally, the first step for council is to consider whether it is willing to reconsider the motion to deny that was approved at the prior meeting. And I understand that staff may have a brief introduction. The applicant would like an opportunity to address us regarding the request, which will be allowed, although I ask the applicant to please keep it short because we've been through the materials. And then I will call on any blue slips that are submitted to speak on this matter. So, Ms. Kettler-Schmaltz, good evening.
Good evening. Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, Director of Planning Community Development, to introduce the item. As you've already mentioned, Forest at Riverwalk Development LLC has formally requested a reconsideration of the City Council motion to deny cluster site plan 54-4-2005. That occurred on November the 10th. The request further proposes modifications to the proposed roadway. The layout would create a turnaround and unpaved connection to Parker with a breakaway gate for emergency access. This is a change to the cluster site plan that you saw a couple of weeks ago to develop the 16.3 net acres into a subdivision of 33 single-family detached homes at maximum density of 2.6 units per acre. The engineering department has reviewed and given some preliminary comments regarding the modification to the plan. They would need further time to review it in detail. The plan came to us late last week. They did express some concern with the road proposal as it pertains to emergency access and length of the road in reference to the codes. The request this evening is for reconsideration of the revised plans by the City Council at a regular meeting date in January of 2026. As you mentioned, the proponent is here for a brief presentation. If you have any questions for me, I'll take them at this time, and if not, we can move on to the proponent.
I have a question.
Yes.
You had mentioned that you have, that your department has not had ample time to review the breakaway road?
The modifications to the plan, including the breakaway gate.
Okay, so you have not had time to review any of this yet?
No, it came to us late last week.
Ask a question?
Yes, please.
How long would that review process take?
It typically takes 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we allow the applicant to make their presentation? Okay. Let's hear from the applicant, please.
Do you want this left up?
Can you put on the, well, yeah,
Those are the two that I have.
yeah, well, you don't have this one.
I did not include that one,
Yeah.
but they have it.
They have it, okay. All right, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to do a rehearing. We listened very carefully to the neighbors who were complaining about some of the items that we could deal with on this plan. One of them was, we're going to eliminate the road from Parker to our entrance. We would just make it a emergency exit for fire, police, if they needed it. We'll put a breakaway. And this way, the young woman that lives right next to that road, who's now a widow, and she was concerned, she will not have to deal with any traffic. The other thing that I think that we failed ourselves to make it clear is the drainage. Now, the drainage, you have it in your packet, but it's not here, but we made a drawing, and I don't know if you can bring it up on your computers. But the drawing shows all the pink are catch basins. This is designed very carefully to accept only the storm from our site so that it'll never spill over to any neighboring sites. In fact, some of the neighbors who spill onto our site now, we would be actually helping them because we're going to pick up some of their stormwater. And I think it's important to note that it's not just us that are designing this. You have a great engineering department, and we'd have to submit to your engineering department. They do careful reviews. We've done this many times in the city. And then they either approve it or they won't approve it. If it's not going to work, they're not going to approve it. So we feel this could work. We think it's the best site plan. We have over 40% of open space on this plan. If this doesn't get approved, our only other option is to go what the zoning does require, which there would be you would have to approve, and that's 80-foot lots. We'd have 29 80-foot lots. We'd have to run the road through the open space area to Colfax. What that does is, number one, it makes our lots much more expensive. We're going to build bigger houses and more expensive houses because we got to change our whole marketing. And that's what we would have to do. We think this is a much better plan. We looked at both options when we designed it, and we hope that you'll be able to give us a chance to at least have a rehearing, go through it with staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
George Major, I just have one simple, what we'd like is the opportunity to work with the engineering department, planning department, fire department, and other city departments to take a look at the road and to take a look in more detail at the drainage so that we can come back to you with a statement that your departments have looked at this and agree with the assessment that we're providing here about how the drainage will be taken care of and how the road will work.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for the applicant or staff from council at this point?
I have a question, just a point of clarification. You're now talking about basically taking the road straight south?
No, if this doesn't get approved, then we'd have to do what the zoning allows us to do, and that's take the road straight through.
Mention something about how the road would not run by the resident's home anymore.
Oh, in this plan, if you look at
Still there.
we're not going to take the road and pave it out to Parker.
Oh, what you're
So what
saying
we would
is, you're
do-
saying the road is still there, but you're not
No,
gonna
no, it's
pave
not
it.
there. It's not paved. It's going to be grass pavers. And then we're going to put a gate at the front, right at Parker, so that cars will not travel up and down that street.
So
It's been done before in the city. We just built some houses off
Yeah,
of Holstead.
I'm aware we have breakaway gates in some locations, but typically those roads are still paved. So you're suggesting this road would be grass pavers?
Be grass pavers, so it will allow the emergency vehicles access. But you would not have traffic. There would be no cars from outside coming through our subdivision, or there would be no cars from our subdivision going out to Parker. It would be blocked off with a gate. And it would be grass pavers, not cement. So it'll be grass.
But existing vegetation would still have to be removed in order to put in the grass pavers to make,
Well,
I
we
mean, it
would-
has to be cleared of any trees that are there and bushes. So that all still would obviously come down.
Yeah, if there's any trees in the way, of course,
Yeah.
we would cut them. Yeah.
Okay.
But if we run the road straight through to Colfax, there'll be a lot more trees cut.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
How would the current space, just in terms of ecosystem, wildlife, how is your development going to affect that? Do you have any answers? Or is that not something that you would know?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, just in terms of how this development is going to impact existing wildlife in the area.
Well,
Have you
we
taken
went
any
through, I
steps
could
for-
go through it again if you want, but we did that at the last
I'll go,
meeting. and
okay,
through the
I'll go
planning
back through it.
commission.
Thank you. I was not on council yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, then we have public comment, Eric Schmidt, to be followed by Michelle Gala.
Good evening. I've been making sure to attend all city council meetings kind of for this particular reason, to follow up and be a part of exercising free speech and hearing about the processes, making sure that I'm aware of what's going on, especially as these projects might relate to the PUD that's going up behind my house. And my plan today was to initially come up at the end and commend everybody on a great job at the last city council meeting by denying this proposed development and letting the other two go through. Those brownfield projects seemed like they made a lot of sense. And denying this one seemed to make a lot of sense. Everybody up here, except for one person, said no. And that's where I'm a little frustrated today. Instead of letting them come up here and ask for reconsideration, why not just say no and kick it back to the commission for planning and make them do their job? It seems like the planning commission is almost like a rubber stamp. I have not been to enough of those meetings, fortunately, maybe unfortunately, to really see how many they've actually denied. But for the most part, it seems like they just let it go through. There are a couple of folks that might vote no, but for the most part, everything kind of gets through to them, gets through to you from them. And I implore you to not let that happen again today. This doesn't make sense. If they need to make these changes so drastically, if they need to do some of these things, I encourage you and implore you to send it back to the Planning Commission. Stick with the no and let it go back through the process so that those folks can have their voices heard and the commission can do their job. And the folks that are here today and the folks that were here 2 weeks ago can be heard at the Planning Commission as well to continue to make sure that this is going to match what they're looking for, but even before it even gets to you, so that it's not dragged out for 1 to 2 years, just like the 13-mile PUD. I'm going to cut it short now, so lucky everybody here today, but I think that I made my point that don't let it go through. Kick it back. All of you said no for a reason. It was the right decision the first time, and I implore you to make that decision again today. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Gala, to be followed by Kimberly Corona.
Hi, I'm Michelle, as you guys know, and thankfully we don't have 24 people to speak to you guys tonight. We're just kind of condensing everything. One of our huge problems is the disrespect we're getting from the developer. Because his first comments were in the first planning commission. I presented it to the city manager, I've presented it to fire department, and they all gave me my blessing. Now you can go back and watch the video. That's the first thing he told everybody. At the end of the last meeting, his comments were, everybody throws out wild, accusations or wild things with no backup. Well, you've seen pictures. We have backup of the flooding in that. So that was one of the other things. He was told to do a traffic study, which we are working on the Parker one. Thank you, we're putting together our little group now. But he never did a traffic study on Folsom. How's that gonna handle all these cars? Any one of you have driven through there during especially rush hour, that's the busiest time, you'll see that cars back up on Orchard Lake, trying to make left-hand turns into Freedom, Folsom, Grand River. That whole area backs up, and there's a stop sign the other direction. There's no way that that can handle all of this. And then again, it's the water. He keeps saying we're self-contained. All of our water is going self-contained in this reservoir. Now, most of you that have been out there, it was during the drought, for one, which didn't help, but the land was still smushy near the marsh area. What he's not understanding is these trees are absorbing water out of our yard. So if you take a bucket of water and throw a brick in it for like his development, we still have the same amount of water. It's got to go somewhere. It's not all going to go into his storm drains. All of our septic fields are near the back of those woods, with the exception of a couple houses, because they can't perk out there. So that's another thing. I mean, there is a huge water issue there, and I think that needs to be looked at first before we even do anything with the development to say, oh yeah, this will work here, because we have a water problem that hasn't been solved. And one last thing I want to say is we have 17 houses from Folsom to Colfax that back these woods, which we have seen the Eagle draft permit that he has. It's not approved permit because he has a few things he has to do. We've seen that, but 12 of those houses are over 100 years old. 100-year plumbing. You know, we can't just connect to something or expect our drain fields our septic fields to hold up. You know, these are old houses, and it just doesn't fit in there. And I know one thing that we had talked about just on a development point, this city, as everybody has commented many times, is 99% developed. We are embarrassed to know that Novi and Livonia and Farmington Hills are all about the same size, give or take a couple square miles. Novi and Livonia have over 1,400 acres of parks. We have just over 600. We should be embarrassed that we're allowing, oh, let's just throw up two-story houses. This development doesn't fit, and there has not been enough design. Nobody even knows about this dirt road that'll flood out that he's talking.
Thank you. Kimberly Corona, to be followed by Mary Newland.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Kimberly Corona. I'm a resident of Farmington Hills. I first want to thank the council members for their thoughtful deliberation on this matter during the previous council meeting. And while I recognize that the developers do own this land, there are major considerations to contest with. Many of these were acknowledged at the last meeting. One, the Planning Commission thought it was important to have an access point built that would, but the one that is built would be too close to the resident. So now the modification plan is to have this road that is only for emergencies, but the road would still be by that resident's home. So when emergency vehicles are driving by, I think it would be quite a difficult thing for the resident who lives right there. Also, the trees, as Michelle said, are critical for absorbing the water and preventing more severe flooding than what the residents already experience. 3, the proposed project does not fit with the current character of the neighborhood, and I don't think the modifications that were made from the developer shared this evening address that concern. And number 4, it has already been shared that the need to build in this area would have to be built around the wetlands, and it's very difficult to do that and to preserve the wetlands, as Eagle has said needs to be done. These woods have been purchased by other developers in the past, and only for them to realize all of these challenges in building there. And so they decided that they were not going to build it, and they ended up selling it to other places. So it seems to me that if there are this many difficulties and issues with building there, that the modifications that would have to be made, it's just not profitable to build in this area. And so because it is such a difficult project to build there, and it would have to be scaled down, I just don't think that it makes any sense for someone to be building in this area, and that you cannot fully address all the concerns that have been raised. And so I just, again, want to thank you for previously acknowledging each of these concerns and for considering the denial of the project as it is. And I don't think the modifications address all the concerns that have been shared. Thank you.
Mary Newland, to be followed by Tammy Trinka.
Hi, I'm Barry Newland. I live at 21645 Lundy. There's only a handful of us today. Why? Because we're up against a builder who has all the time in the world to figure out how to get around this, how to get around us. We have no homeowner association. We have no way to communicate. We are a neighborhood of single-family homes. We are not a high, powerful homeowner association that has a very large voice in this community. We are just basic streets. So we're now up against a builder that we're trying to keep abreast of what all of that they're doing. If we had the ability to communicate with each other, which we don't, we would have filled this chamber again tonight, because we are very passionate about what is happening in our neighborhood. I'm not so much worried on Lundy because we have a little less water, but I'm very concerned, and we are concerned about each other, about what is going to happen to Parker. Parker is a dirt road. They have septic fields, they have wells. And there is going to be no recourse if those wells or septic fields are failing. Lundy, of course, we also have our water thing. But again, water is a big thing. Even if there's a drought, you can go out there and it's bushy land. The table's high. And that's with all the very, very adult, very robust trees we've got. It's trees wall to wall out there. They're absorbing what water they can, and it's still mushy. But again, my concern was first about the road, and again, we have a medically complex foster care on Lundy. You can't tell me that there's not going to be another adult foster care or another home that's going to require a lot of emergency care on a regular basis, and they're going to have to rely on that so-called grassy pavement area to get out all the time. So this is it's a safety concern that I have also, so thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Trinka is the last I have.
Hi, my name is Tammy Trinka. I live at 21689 Lundy Street. Unlike Mary Ellen had just said, I have a basement, she does not. We've talked about it before about my sump pump running continuously. All winter long, this happens. My biggest concern, the developer only talks about groundwater, or not groundwater, runoff water is how he's going to have this drainage system. When you remove 600 trees, our water table now has gone up. My property is about 4 feet below the developer's property, or the development that they're proposing. What I don't understand is this water table is going to rise when all these trees are gone. There's going to be nothing to absorb all this groundwater. What is going to protect our property, my basement from flooding and my house from going underwater? Because what he's proposing is only taking surface water. It's doing nothing with the groundwater that all these trees, 600 trees, are absorbing for us where we already stay wet. My other concern, he's talking about this grass road. That road is going to be so wet. There's no way an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, will be able to get through it. It'll sink. There's just no way a grass area in a marsh, wet land is going to support the weight of any emergency vehicle to go through that. So that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to me. So once again, I still feel that the water, they're not doing anything for this water problem that we have. Surface water is not the problem. It's the groundwater. My sump pump, my backyard, I can walk right out my door. It is dry, but my sump pump is constantly running. It's not taking groundwater or surface water. It's all water underneath. So like I keep saying, remove the trees. What's going to happen to that water table? It's going to go up. My house is going to flood. So what is this council going to do to ensure that our homes are protected? Like I said at the last meeting, please don't leave us our only recourse to sue a city that we have been loyal to and taxpayers for so long. You know, you need to honor your vote to deny this and protect the citizens that you have and protect our property. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more card. Robert Donovic.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm just an observer tonight, do not live on the street. I'm a supporter of housing in the area, and watching this, just kind of following along in the metropolitan area, what I found interesting is while this project, some residents don't want it, completely understand, it's interesting to note that if this is denied, ultimately the developer is still going to be allowed to build on this property. So the discussion of building on this property isn't the crux of it. They're going to build one way or another because they meet the zoning for 80-foot lots. So instead of having the cluster options of smaller lots with less of an impact, you're ultimately going to deny this, you could deny this project, and then the petitioner will just reapply for the zoning by right of 28 houses with wider lots. They're going to be 80-foot lots. They're going to be larger houses that are not going to be similar to the existing homes in the area, and they're just going to be $700,000 homes as opposed to maybe a little bit more inexpensive homes and smaller homes. So just an observation as I watch this and as a supporter of housing, I think you'd actually be impacting, I know there was a question about impacts to the environment. I think if this project isn't approved, you'll actually impact the wildlife and forest more because now your road will go from left all the way to the right, crossing over wetlands, crossing over streams of water. So as someone that wants to protect the environment and limit removal of trees as much as possible, ironically, this plan is the most eco-friendly as opposed to the right zoning, the zoning by right plan that ultimately would, I'm assuming, will be proposed by the petitioner at a later date if this is denied. And then you're going to cross a body of water with a roadway. You're going to cut down more trees. Watching these meetings, originally you have roughly 40% of open protected woodlands in this proposed plan. If this isn't approved and the developer comes back for the legally approved, essentially approved plan later on, you would destroy more trees, cross a body of water, and impact wetlands. So as someone that wants to protect trees but also provide more housing to the community, we've heard a lot of discussion about more attainable housing in the metropolitan area. The ultimate plan eventually that was going to be proposed to the city that will legally be allowed is not going to be, is going to be more expensive and impact more of the forest and waterway. So just an observation as someone watching. So thank you so much for all your time and service to your community. I know it's never an easy decision, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to council. So the first question for us is whether there is a motion to reconsider. This motion can only be made by a council member who voted in favor of the motion to deny at our last meeting, which means that Dr. Starkman cannot make the motion and I cannot make the motion. If a motion to reconsider is made and fails, this item is closed and there will be no further discussion. If such a motion is made and passed, we will be back to the point where in the process where Councilmember Bridges' motion was to deny, as stated at the November 10th, 2025 meeting. And it is back on the table as though it had not yet been voted on. At that point, we can continue discussion and deliberation on that motion based on new and additional information that was provided to us, and we can also consider the applicant's request to postpone those discussions and any decision until a later date. So, is there a motion to reconsider Council's decision at the November 10th, 2025 meeting to deny Cluster Site Plan 54-4-2025 Forest at Riverwalk?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Pro Tem.
Make a motion to reconsider council's decision at the November 10th, 2025 meeting to deny Cluster Site Plan 54-4-2025 Forest at Riverwalk.
Okay, there is a motion. Is there support? I will second the motion. Okay, so this motion is made and seconded, and now it is time for discussion on whether to reconsider this item. Council.
I will add a comment
Sure.
for discussion for this. My views are still the same as the last time we discussed this, that it is detrimental to the area as per the cluster development. I believe that that property, whereas it currently sits, is intrinsic to the character of that neighborhood, and I think removal of it will be detrimental. And I acknowledge the point that the developer could put something worse in, but the decision before council, from my perspective, is even if something worse can be proposed, the decision of what is proposed before me, I don't see the benefit of it for this development, so I will be voting no.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Ms. Null.
Sure, my views haven't changed either. Even with grass pavers, the road is still right next to her. I think she has 2 or 3 bedrooms on that side of the house, so there's still a road going through there that could potentially be used. I have walked that area, it's very wet. I also think that grass pavers, it's gonna be difficult with how wet it is there. To me, that doesn't really improve the situation very much. And I also still have an issue with all of the, with the cluster development. I don't like all of those houses crammed in there. I think it's changes the character of the neighboring streets that have more property between their homes. And so I think that is detrimental to the character of the neighborhood.
I stand by my original motion.
Okay. Dr. Starkman?
I would just like to speak briefly to the fact that, when I was campaigning, I was able to really get to know the folks who live at Parker Lundy, and I learned a lot about the neighborhood. I was able to walk the property and to really kind of get a better sense of, the land and how important and meaningful it is to the folks who live there. I know I obviously have not been, I have not been on council very long, but I have concerns about this property. I would have concerns about going back on, a motion that was previously, put forth. I understand the risk, as Mr. Aldred stated. However, this development is not appropriate for the space, so I will be voting no.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I am disappointed with the way it looks like this decision's going to go down. We talk about destroying the being consistent or inconsistent with the character of the neighborhood. And what we're going to get is 28, 29, $700,000 houses that are gonna go all the way from Folsom to Colfax and are gonna just plow right through all of that wetland, as opposed to maintaining 40% of it for the neighbors to continue to enjoy. I just think we're making a very, very poor ecological and housing decision here. And I would like to have heard what the developer would propose coming back at a future council meeting. So I will be voting against the motion to deny. Okay, so I'm calling the question, roll call vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's me. Council members Knoll,
Okay, so the motion is to deny the cluster development request, is that? Oh, I'm sorry, it's the motion to reconsider.
Reconsider.
Okay, yes, okay.
Yes, council members Knoll,
No on reconsideration.
Starkman,
No on reconsideration.
Aldred,
No.
Bullaware,
No.
Bridges,
No.
Dwyer,
No.
Mayor Rich.
Yes. Okay. So now we are back in the position with Mr. Bridges' motion from November 10th to deny the cluster development. And so we have motion and second. So, yeah, go ahead.
You're actually done.
Oh, we're done because the reconsideration was denied. Okay, never mind. We are done. All right, that then takes us to public comments. No, Ms. Mondora will go out with you and answer a question. Thank you. Okay, we have one comment, Michael Harris. Michael Harris still here?
There he is.
Hello. Good evening.
Michael Harris, President of Halsted Hills Homeowners Association. In August, Fiber City was laying down cable for fiber optics that are buried below the underground, and they accidentally hit our sprinkler system in a very vulnerable spot. And our homeowners association paid to get it fixed, the damage that they did, which amounted to $2,320. Since August, we've repeatedly gotten the runaround from Fiber City. The local rep, John O'Brien, said, "Oh no, I submitted the bill," and I called today the parent, I guess the other company, I guess that works with Fiber City, the contractor, said, "Oh no, we never got a bill." I said, "Well, can someone call me back?" And they said, "Oh yeah, they'll call you back," and they never called me back today. It just keeps getting the runaround. I would request if the council can do something to just get us our check for $2,320 back that was from their negligence.
May I, Madam Mayor?
Looking at you.
Why don't we have a quick discussion after the meeting? I'd be happy to
Great.
talk with you. Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, we have no further public comment, no further business. We are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, Farmington Hills. We'll see you in December. And remember to come greet us for the Unity candle lighting on December 2nd.